Today's episode of the Influencer Empires podcast is brought to you by the Empire Program with White Label Suite, powering our influencers and building their empires. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here on the show. Today we have somebody who will inspire you, drive your profits further, and show you the leadership qualities that you need to be able to bring your business to the next level. She is a self-made millionaire, the profit coach. She's also the best-selling author of Power Your Profits, available on Amazon. She turned her own business, where she was struggling, into no less than 3 multi-million-dollar exits, including an 8-figure exit. She's also built more than 10 multi-million-dollar companies, all while being a mother and building up an incredible track record. She has no less than 120,000 followers on Facebook, more than 20,000 followers on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. She is Dr. Susie Carder, being featured on the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Huffington Post, and now, of course, here for our Influencer Empires podcast. Susie, thank you so much for spending the time with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for what you guys are doing. You guys are leaders, movers, and shakers. And I'm honored to play and honored to contribute because this is my jam. I know it's yours, it's mine too.
I love it. So cool. We're getting out there and talking to people about their business and helping them grow all the way through. Now, Susie, when I say those numbers, 120,000 people follow you on Facebook, meaning when you're posting something there, over 100,000 people are saying, wow, what's up, Susie? And they're following along with you. How does that feel for you as a mom who's a self-made millionaire, somebody who's beaten the path and created that, coming all the way through, being a mother, leading with family first? How does it make you feel that over 100,000 people will hear what you have to say today?
I think it's my assignment, right? Well, it's not about my ego or my shego. I believe that my gift from God is my life. My gift back to God is what do I do with my life? So for me, it's my God-given assignment to teach people what I had to learn the hard way. And in every challenge, obstacle, bloody knees, bloody elbows, skin face, I get present to what am I learning? What am I learning? What am I learning? So I don't stay in my pity party. God knows I have pity parties. But for me, it's I just want to make a bigger contribution. I've traveled all over the world, and there was a time in my career where I just felt like I was on one plane after another after another. This is before social media, and you're like, "Am I making a difference? Am I? I don't know. Are people doing? They bought product, but you're like, what are you doing?" And so for me, it's a way to gauge. Is the message impactful? Are we on the right track? It really is my own focus group, this little nucleus of people, and it's allowed me to grow. It's allowed me to grow with referrals. Just you and I met from a referral of someone else saying, "Oh my God, you got to meet Walt," and "Oh my God, you got to meet Susie," and that's power, right?
Yeah.
Because we instantly got on the phone, instantly connected, and so it's a faster way to really find those people that you're looking for. And while you know as much as I know, there's lots of charlatans in our industry and to go, let's find the real deal. And so that's why I'm proud to just share, here's the journey. Let's talk about it. Because I think so many times experts, influencers, they teach from their mountaintop. Well, you
Mm.
know what? I've learned more in my valley. I've learned more when I have failed. And I'll talk about the mountaintop because you need to know, like the acknowledgments that you gave me in the beginning, but I don't live off my past. I live off what am I creating in my future? What am
Mm.
I creating for my community? What am I creating for my children? What legacy am I leaving behind? How am I teaching them to be more powerful women and make a difference in the world? Versus let's get a job, right? Each of them do something spectacular in their line of work. And I believe it's because I drug them along, right? Before I had money, they came to events, right? They would sit in the back of the room and hold up time cards. And, they used to pack all my product and stuff the cassettes. This is how old I am, Walt. I had cassettes.
I grew up listening to him, so I'm like, I'm with you on it. Wow, that's amazing. So, Susie, when you're talking about before you had money, and just before we hit record, we're talking about, lifestyle and incredible places in the world. Before you had money, the struggle, the journey up that mountainside. When
Yeah.
did you when did you realize that this was something that was in your control?
Um, so I'm gonna go a little deep first.
Yeah,
So
please.
was in a marriage, right? My kid's dad, it was a very abusive marriage. I grew up in an abusive home, so I saw my mom getting her ass kicked, right? Love meant yelling, screaming, hitting. That's what love meant to me. So what did I do? I duplicated that pattern. And I remember, Walt, I just had my second baby and she was 6 months old. And I'm like, I can't, what am I teaching my children? What am I teaching my daughters? I learned it from my mother and I'm repeating the pattern. And you're looking at these babies, a 6 month old and an 18-month old. I'm like, I have to be my own rescue. I have to stand up for myself. Now, I was working as a hairdresser in the salon. I went back to work 2 weeks after I had my baby. I had that hustle of I got to get out. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew I had to do it. So I became my own rescue. And I was talking to my daughter about it the other day. I'm like, girl, I don't know how I did it, but when all options are off the table and you got to make money, right? You got to figure out how to do it. That's how I started speaking. I was like, I got to find 10 women who can afford my services. So I went into Hewlett Packard, sold myself. Don't know how I sold myself. I was not a speaker, did not know how to speak, but I'm charismatic, I'm fun, I'm funny, or I thought I was. I look back at a video of that and I was horrible, but I got 5 customers that day, right? 5 customers at their lifetime value was $4,000 each. That was a good day. And I'm like, how do I do more of this? How do I build that? Because it was quicker, faster. I didn't have a marketing budget. I didn't have an advertising budget. I was going to networking groups. I was on the hustle. And so sometimes man's rejection is God's protection, right? Sometimes when you're in your valley and you've got to make choices, I think I see so many entrepreneurs have the back door, right? They're doing the double dutch. Like, well, I'm building a business, but I have this job, or I'm in this relationship, I want to get out, or I don't have to work as hard as I want to work because we have a back door. We have this safety net. Well, I had no safety net. My family didn't help me. My family disowned me because I married the man, which should have been my first clue, right? But I didn't have anyone to support me, so I had to rely on me. As hard as that was, that allowed me to be able to take on anything, right? I was ignorance on fire, my friend.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
have a plan. I just had that desire, that hunger, and I had to pay tuition. I had to buy, school clothes. I had to buy groceries. I had to, it was lean and mean, but we were happier. I believe that my trajectory of my life and my children's life is forever different because I made that stand for myself, but it was really for my children, for my daughters. So we didn't
Mm.
really past.
Wow. Did you ever feel, did you ever feel like you were broken in that scenario?
Oh my gosh, I've spent years in therapy, right? Years just trying to uncover the pattern, just trying to, why did I make these choices, right? And then you find yourself there again, not nearly as bad, right? I got better, but my picker was definitely off there for several years of choosing relationships that were not healthy for me, whether that was work relationship, business partner relationships. It wasn't just intimate relationships. I had no context of what a healthy relationship was. So I started personal development. I started with therapy, then I started going to classes, then I met Barbara DeAngelis, and then I started volunteering on her staff to really fall in love with myself and heal my inner child. And all this process while building a business, raising these 2 daughters, right? Wanting to do it differently than my parents did, right? Wanting to be a mom that I didn't even know how to be. My mom left when I was 5 and never came back, right? So I didn't have a mom. And so how do you be a mom when you don't have that role model? How do you do things differently? The only way I knew how to do things differently was because how I was treated as a child, as that experience that I had as a child, and went, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then later on, I discerned too, if I'm not going to do that, then who am I going to be? Who am I going to be as a woman? Who am I going to be as a mother? Who am I going to be as a business person? What are my values? Integrity, communication, honesty, passion, love. Those are my values. And to make decisions based on my values versus based on my ego or based on, an outcome. Yes, I have outcomes, but am I living congruently with who I say that I am in the world? And I'm not
Wow.
perfect, right? I still fall down. I still make mistakes. Integrity is like dirty laundry. I can clean it up all day long and I could say one thing to you that might offend you. And if you don't come back and say, hey, that was offensive, I wouldn't know my integrity's out. But then there's times your integrity's out, right? You're not being
Mhm.
in compliance with your health and well-being. You're not being in compliance with your relationship. You're waiting for somebody else to do something. You're not being in compliance with your business. You know, you need to be on sales calls. You know, you need to invest in your business. You know, you need to buy tools to grow your business. It's not sprinkle fairy dust and it doesn't magically happen. And so I think it's important for you to go, what are my guiding principles in my personal life? Right? I have guiding principles in every area of my life, in my health, in my education, in my intelligence, in my relationships, in my family, in my intimate relationships, in my wealth cycle, so that I don't get lost. It's so easy to get lost in the noise. It's so easy to get, you know, pulled, if you will, by some sparkle, squirrel.
Right.
It is for
Distraction.
me anyway. It's like, oh my God, let's go do that new fun thing. No, no, no. Is that in my value structure? What's
Mm.
that legacy I want to leave behind? And,
Wow.
we grew up not wealthy at all. We were poor. There was 9 kids: Bobby, Ronnie, Stevie, Terry, Joni, Shelley, Susie, Kelly, Debbie. So 9 kids, right? 11 of us in a household, 1,200 square feet. And we had to hustle for everything that we did. And that taught me how to be. I started a business at 10 years old. I was always selling something, making cookies, selling them, right? Avon, selling it. What else you got to sell? I'm gonna sell it. Clean your house, clean your yard, do the windows, do whatever. Because in our household, it was, if you want something, go work for it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get a job. So that entrepreneurial journey started really young, and I thank my dad for that, right? And he's like, see, you can have whatever you want. Just go get a job. Just go work. The
Wow.
challenge has been go work hard, right? Just go work hard. Go work hard and it'll all work out. That's probably been the biggest life lesson of I can have whatever I want and I don't have to kill myself.
Yeah, that's a huge revelation. How many of
Yeah.
the other brothers and sisters have succeeded, like, really made it?
Well, they're all successful in their own right. No one has the kind of success I do, but when I look at that many kids, right? No one's on drugs, no one went to jail. They're all responsible, committed, great family, moms and dads and
Interesting.
we're a little disjointed. We're not the closest family. I'm definitely the black sheep and they don't get me. On my dad's deathbed, I just sold my company for 8 figures, right? And I'm proud, right? I'm like, I'm all proud and he's like, well, Sue, why'd they pay you all that money?
Wow. Damn. Wow. Damn.
And
Okay.
I'm like, oh, like sometimes you can't get out of the mold they put you in, right? Because
Have you forgiven him for that?
what's that?
Have you forgiven him for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He knew what he knew. Like he had an eighth grade education. He raised 9 kids.
Mm.
He provided for us. He had no debt when he died. He had owned his own home. All of us were successful in their own right,
Yeah.
right? So he raised these responsible kids. And so when you sit back and go, he can't even fathom the concept of who I was in the world. Like,
Right.
why are people paying you to talk? What are you talking about? And our parents don't know, our family don't know. And I quit trying to show them, right? When I show up at a family event, I'm just Susie,
Yeah.
right? That's
Nice.
all I
Yeah.
am. Everything else, like, who cares?
Falls both
I,
ways.
over the years have tried to go, but you don't know what I do. They don't care,
Yeah, but
right?
you're just Susie.
Yeah.
My mother said to me when I landed a six-figure job when I was 22, and she said, "What could you possibly do to be worth that much money?" It's so amazing to hear, but it's also amazing to hear that they don't care what you do. Like family is a different breed there. So Susie, you're out selling cookies. You're 10 years old. You're going to get a job to build stuff out to make things happen for yourself. When did you go from being an employee to an empire builder?
So it was when I was in the salon industry. So as that industry, the average hairdresser makes about $30,000 a year. So
Mm.
I was making $250,000 a year. And
Okay.
Paul Mitchell, and I was doing that in 3.5 days a week. And Paul Mitchell said, "What are you doing?" Because you're with those are sales reps, and I would tell them what I'm doing, and they would see me being busy, and they'd have to make an appointment with me. They couldn't just show up. I'm like, I am with a client. And so they're like, you need to go into other salons and spas and teach them this. I'm like, I don't know how to teach this. They're like, oh no, we'll help you. So I went in and started serving my community, find what the market needs and serve that community. I didn't know how to make it a business. I didn't know how to set up a speaking business. I was just saying, hey, Walt, let me show you. I do this referral program. I use a script, and this is how I upsell. I look at my average ticket. I look at my transaction value. I look at, are they using the products and services? And from there, then people would say, oh my God, Susie, I love what you're talking about. Do you have a book? I'm like, no, I don't have a book. I'm a hairdresser. And they're like, oh my God, if you had a book, we would buy a book. Well, this is 1995, right? So I'm aging myself. So I'm like, okay, I'll write a book. The publisher that was in that industry rejected the book. And I'm like, well, everybody said they're going to buy it. I didn't know how to do a book proposal. I didn't know how to pitch it. I had a one page and said, here's what I want to do. And I didn't have a following or a brand. I'm like, these people in these salons say they'll buy it. And they're like, yeah, no. So I'm like, well, you know what? Fine. I'm used to rejection. I'm used to hard life. I'm used to being scrappy. I'm going to start my own publishing company. So Walt, I started my own publishing company, published my own book, published nine other books under that brand, right? Audios, books, all under that publishing company. And here's what I'll say, fast forward 20 years, that publishing company that rejected me was the same publishing company that bought me all those
Hell,
years later. And when I realized that, I was sitting in the jacuzzi with my husband and we're drinking coffee, and I'm like, oh my God, they rejected me. Oh my God, this is the best day ever. Like it just was I was so disconnected
wow.
to, it's like, whatever, move on, you get rejected, do something different, start a publishing company, So,
You turn no into a multi-figure success, and closing that loop with it. That is amazing. They said no to you for a tiny drop in the bucket opportunity, and
yeah.
yet so you blew it up. They came back and said, here's a much, much, much bigger check. Like let's turn
Yes.
it around. Wow, that's amazing, Susie. So I just want to get into the growth for a second, because I know, like, as you are known as the profit coach, so your life these days is working with business owners, helping them unlock their profits and helping them grow and scale and do all those cool and amazing things. When you're talking about your own journey, there's a heck of a lot of grit that I'm feeling. And in fact, as I'm doing my research on you, you attributed a lot of your success to grit, as in just keep going, get it done, don't quit, make it happen. And I can feel that coming back from you. So, you don't go from being a hairdresser, whose average salary is 30,000 to being a salon owner who's pulling in 250. You don't do that in one leap. Was there a conscious move from you to go from a single operator to a business, or did you just kind of accidentally fall into that?
No, so I did 250 as still a single operator. I was an
Wow.
independent
Okay.
contractor. So that
Amazing.
wasn't, I didn't own the salon at that time. So then I bought a salon and we were one of the first salons to hit that $1 million mark, right?
Amazing.
So what I realized at that 250 is I was making a lot of money, but I had no money.
Mm,
And I had a horrendous car accident. I got ran over by a dually truck
wow.
and hit straight on. He just ran over me. So I broke my leg, bruised my ribs, and literally was out of work for 2 weeks. In that 2 weeks, Walt, I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. I was
Mm,
living paycheck to paycheck,
mm.
right? I had some money in my safe, right? You always got the Papa don't know money,
Yeah, right.
but not enough for rent. I'm like, I have to go back to work. And that was very eye-opening for me because again, I didn't have family to support me. My dad was like, "You're 18, you're out," right?
Mm,
My little ass said, "I'm 17, I'm almost 18, I'm moving out." Never looked back, right? So I didn't have the kind of support and I didn't create that support. The people in the salon, my teammates, but I didn't have anyone to help me. And I
mm,
said, I need to understand this. It makes no sense that I make $250,000 a year and I have no savings, I have no cushion, and I'm spending it. Well, when you don't ever have money, you have to go through that stage, I believe, right? I had the
yeah.
nice cars, I had the nice bags, I had the nice condo, I didn't own that condo, but everything looked good on the outside.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, I had nothing. And I was so bad, Walt. This is embarrassing to say, but you got to hear if I can do this, you can do it. I was so bad at my finances that I had to when I was trying to balance my checkbook, close that checkbook and open a new checking account because I could not balance it. And it was such a cluster. And I went into the bank and my banker said, Susie, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't balance it. He goes, well, let's get you QuickBooks. Well, what's QuickBooks? Right? And he's like, oh my God, this will be a game changer for you. So I think because my vulnerability and I just like, I don't know what to do. And they're seeing the money go through as a small business owner. You know, right now, only 5% of small businesses do $250,000 right
Yeah.
now in this
Right.
economy. So
Yeah.
back then, look, honey, back then, I'm so old. I'm seasoned. I'm not old, and I'm spicy. I'm wild. I will say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, my banker helped me get set up. One of my clients was an admin person. She helped me document stuff, and I'm just I'm a lifelong student. I love to learn. I didn't
Mm.
like traditional school. I didn't get this DR the traditional way. Let me just say that out loud. I got my doctorate 2 years ago because
Wow.
I'm a lifelong learner. I said, this is one thing that I've not done yet. I really want this for me, not for anybody else. And you know, business, it's a game, right? You have to have a book if you're going to work in this industry because a book gives you credibility. It has to be a bestseller and it has to be a real book. Can't be those fake books, right? It can't be some pamphlet. And the book, you may not make a million from the book, but you will make millions because of the book, right? And so when I look at all my work and look at back end sales and look at how do you build this, it was the intuitiveness and then it was the who can help me with this,
Mm.
right? Oh, there's Walt. And then I would be humble enough to go, I'm really good at this, Walt, but I don't know how to do this. How can you help me? I've
Mm.
always invested in coaches. I've always invested in mentors. My first, that when I was an independent contractor, I wrote a business plan with a coach, right? I didn't know what that meant, right? Again, I was a high school graduate. And so putting that plan together to look at my ideal client and what people would spend and not spend, then I just saw the bigger picture. And then when I was working with Paul Mitchell, people said, can you do this for me? I'm like, yeah, why? Yeah, let's do it. So I didn't go, I want to be a
Hey.
coach, I want to be a speaker. It became of a need. Like I wanted to be, I was a speaker because I needed to feed my children, in all
Mm.
honesty, transparency. I needed clients
Mm.
today, not 2 weeks from now, not go to a networking group and hope that you come see me. It was like, tonight, I got to feed my children. So how can I do this? Right.
Mm.
So that grit that you hear is the reality of not having, right? And going, I'll make this work. And I think growing up without having, I didn't like, I think of my children and their expectation and their privilege that they have that I didn't have. Now, I wanted to give them that privilege, but I also made them earn their money too, though. Won't I will say that. I passed that one down. You're going
Nice.
to earn the money today. I'm not giving you any money.
Nice. Give them the grit that they need as well. So, Susie, if you lost it all today, could you start again? Have you got a system there that you could build that? Like, do you now know those lessons? Are they entrenched in you?
Oh, you did not read this story, I'm telling you. So in 2007, I don't know if you remember that time of year, but it was right after we
Mm.
sold our company. We got $10 million for that business. We got half up front and half on the back end. And 2007 to 2009, the industry crashed.
Yeah.
I've always had a real estate development company, and so most of that money was tied up in our real estate. And what felt like overnight, well, I lost $10 million in assets between my
Wow.
real estate, my portfolio, my businesses, right? And a marriage of 17 years. A
Mm.
man who said, I will never leave you. I will never leave you. We are ride or die. Left me, right? Left me holding the bag of all the real estate shit, foreclosing, short selling, right? Upside down in our primary home, my dream home upside down. Dude, I had a little mini golf course and a guest home and a playground and a palatial pool. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here going, holy shit, I'm 40 years old. I don't I don't have 20 years to rebuild this. I don't have it in me. I don't have the desire. The man that I loved and trusted and helped me build this thing and believed in me moved to Singapore, right? My kids were empty nesting, right? And I felt alone and isolated.
Wow.
And I remember being on the ground and being on my knees praying, and not a pity party praying, Walt, praying like the why. I've been a good steward. I did everything you told me to do. I did everything my coaches told me to do. I was frugal. I was responsible. And I heard this voice in my head. And the voice said, get up, get up. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. You don't need anyone else. Get up. You know what to do. Go tell the people. And I'm like, excuse me? Go, go tell the people? What do you mean go tell the people? And so I call it God, you call it your higher intuition, you call it that guiding post. And so I started telling my story. I said, I'm supposed to be the profit coach. I'm supposed to know this. And I got hit upside the head. I got mollywopped. I got knocked down. And what I realized that it took me 20 years to build that, but I didn't know any of it.
Right.
Right? I was a street smart, scrappy hustler, and I spent 20 years in education, 20 years going to classes, 20 years learning to raise money, 20 years learning finance, 20 years taking business law class, 20 years of going to marketing classes, 20 years of learning, not 20 for social media, but learning everything about business. And so it didn't take me 20 years to rebuild it. It took me about five.
Mm.
And the first thing I did, lost my ass in real estate. And the first thing I did was I invested in real estate. I've made millions in real estate. So I always have a real estate development company as well as my training and development company and consulting. And so as humbling as it was, it has you realize that what got me there will get me to that next level. And I just had to implement what I knew. And so I put my head down and I had two clients. I had Lisa Nichols and John Assaraf. And I said, I will do for you. John Assaraf, we did a turnaround situation in his company. Lisa Nichols, we took her from 80,000 to 10 million and grew their companies. And I just did, let me do what I did for me, for you. And then realize that I have a system for everything, right? And when I sold my company, it was in the beauty industry. So I had a non-compete there. So I could not go back in that industry. And what I realized is business is business is business. And I was teaching at this Millionaire Summit and teaching systems and strategy. And people would come up to me and they're like, Susie, will you be my coach? I'm like, I know nothing about being an attorney and you scare me, right? I know nothing about being a graphic designer. I know nothing about, right, being a musician. And they're like, no, we don't care. We want you. What you're talking about. So here was my genius idea. One night I'm laying in bed because all these people would come to me and I'm praying and I'm like, I know what? I'm just going to double my fees. If I double my fees, they won't want to pay that. Dude, you know what? I double my fees. And they're like, okay, so where's the contract? I'm like, holy shit, now I have to do this.
That's so funny. Like, there's so many people. There's so many people that I've heard that same story from. It's like I doubled my fees, and the queue in front of me doubled as well. Like people suddenly went, "She's twice as valuable now." Like I gotta get her. Yeah, I love it. So, Susie, wow, what an incredible story. And, to feel that on your knees moment and literally to reach out and hear that to say, get up and tell the people. And you mentioned social media there, which is kind of where we started our numbers conversation. Um, with that social media advent as that's come in the last few decades, and that being the broadcast tool that we use today to reach large groups, have you felt the change in dynamics on a business level where you're able to go live, reach 100,000 people? Have you felt the difference that's made to you as a business owner and as a coach to be able to have that kind of influence?
Yeah, I think the most valuable part is the community,
Hmm.
right? The community of knowing you're not alone, the community of people watching. My granddaughter was born with cerebral palsy. And I've always been very, my personal life has been very private. Sometimes social media can feel narcissistic, right?
Right.
And so sometimes I would post pictures, sometimes, my personal stuff, but for the most part, it was all business driven, right? I'm like, let me just have a little slice of me just to myself. And when my granddaughter was born, she almost died. And she was born 3 months early. She just fit in my hand. She had a stroke. Um, she had brain damage. And I remember them putting her in the ambulance, this little tiny baby in this little box, and them driving away. And that was another on your knee moment. I asked my community. I said, I don't ask for much. And what I'm asking for is prayer.
Mm.
What I'm asking for is this baby's life. And I don't know what to do but to ask my community. And we had people from all over the world sending me pictures of their prayer rooms, sending me pictures of their prayer circle, sending me prayers for this baby. And 4 years later, these same people, ride or die, give updates. And I'm so blessed and thankful because now that community came into my home. Before it was just me give, 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 right? I'm like, I'm just going to give content, give education, give my stories, tell everything. But now I needed something I never knew where to go before. And now you have this 100,000 people sending my daughter videos that, oh, my daughter has cerebral palsy and here's what we've done. And please reach out to me if you need any help. We do this and we do that. And so she has had the top doctors. She has had some of the world leaders reach out to us to give us advice and cheer us on and help us. And to look at her today, you would never know that where she was so traumatic. We call her little righty arm, which is the one that was affected in the stroke. That's her little sexy arm, right? Righty. And so she's in ballet, she's in soccer, she's in physical therapy every single day, and this community still cheering her on, still rooting her on. That's the power of community at a whole nother level,
Yeah,
right? That
that's
that moves me.
I'm amazed. I've interviewed so many people who have millions of followers, and quite often the communication, the rhetoric comes around to the haters and to the negative side of social media. I think that's the first time I've felt the love that can come back from that following. That's amazing.
I think what you put out, you get back.
Yeah.
I don't have time for gossip. I don't have time for haters. Do they come in my inbox? Sure. Do I get weird pictures and we call it the sperm file because people just send you random like who thinks that's a good idea? I
That's the question I can never understand. Like, at what point did you possibly conceive that that would be a good thing to anyway? They do what they do.
Anyway, but I always tell my girlfriends if we go out, like, listen, we're not bagging on our men. It's hard enough to be married and in a relationship. You don't want to bag on them. If you can't edify them, I can't hang out with you. And I'm not Pollyann, but it's work to stay in a healthy relationship. It's work to edify your man. It's so easy to bag on what's wrong with clients, what's wrong with, your kids or, your husband or husband or, to go, how do I give the world the best of me? And I
Mm,
expect the world to give the best back.
mm,
God gave me a gift, Walt, that I can see the greatness in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. Like there is something when I meet people that I see beyond what you're doing today and see this whole world around you. And it gives me chills just talking about it. And they'll go, oh my God, how do you know that? I don't know how I know it. I just know. And here's
mhm,
what we're going to do. And because business was hard for me, like I'm ADHD, I'm dyslexic, right? I'm squirrel, sparkle. So I had to discipline myself to learn systems. I had to discipline myself for time management, right? I had to discipline myself to like, how do you work from home? There was such discipline for the drive for my family, the drive for my children, the drive for giving my kids a better life than I had, right? That drive is what kept me to go, I've got to learn more. I don't understand what they're saying when they say this. We raised $1 million I built the largest technology company in the beauty industry. And this is back in 2000. So think back in 2000. Google was just launching in 2000. I'm in the beauty industry. The beauty industry was not using computers yet for their business. Only 50% of the market was using computers. But what I saw is I'd get off a plane, I'd leave the town. I didn't know if you were doing the work. I didn't know if you implemented what I said. So there was like this hole in me, like, why am I doing this? I'm away from my kids. I'm on a plane. I'm in a strange hotel room. So I created it the largest membership site in the beauty industry before member sites were big. I didn't know what it was. I'm just like, we need this hub where all this stuff is here and people can go and get it when they need it. They can do their promotions. And so sitting in that room, learning how to raise money, learning how to talk about the SEC, learning the legalities, I had to go to that class probably 20 times just to understand what the security and exchange was, right? I would look at my partner like, "Are you getting this?" Because it was flying over my head. I felt so stupid, but I was committed. I'm like, I got to learn this because my first website was a $500,000 because there was no Square, there was no Infusionsoft, right? There was no WordPress, there was none of that. We had to build everything from scratch,
Wow.
right? And that's when you learn that just because they say they can do it doesn't mean they can do it, which is an expensive lesson.
Yeah. Wow. So, and I mean, you had that vision before you knew what it was. Do you still do you still forward future cast now, Susie? Do you feel the call of what's coming? Like, talking about, and I appreciate you for it, talking about, feeling the greatness within people, looking at somebody and seeing what can be. And I love the fact that you said it gives you chills. It's so cool. And then, translating that into building that technology company in the beauty industry before it was a thing, it
Yeah.
was a thing in your mind. Do you still have that? Do you feel now that you have that kind of forethought about, whoa, you should see what we're seeing. Like we've got something bigger coming through. Do you still have that today?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a great story. So it's been about 2 years, 2.5 years. So we'd had a year-long program, $35,000, and we were doing $2.5 million in a line item in this. And what I found was, well, people weren't doing the work, and they'd show up to
Mm,
calls like sprinkle fairy dust. They weren't doing the work, and I'm like, I'm done with this. I don't need your money. Don't waste your money and my time. I shut that program down. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be their rescue. If they're not willing to do the work, they're not getting the results. Please don't tell people I'm your coach if you're not doing the work. Tell them I'm your coach if you're doing the work. Do what I say, you get the result. And it has been the hardest 2 years to sit back and trust and surrender. Now, luckily, I've set up my finances. And dude, I got to tell you, once, I grew up in that scarcity. So it comes back. I lost my money and waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? To sit back and go, okay, here's my investments. Here's our real estate. Here's my cash flow. I still have clients. I'm doing this. You're okay. You're like talking myself off the ledge because I'm used to like, I got to have the safety net because what if I
awesome.
lose all my money again? Right?
Mm,
And to reinvent and to think about what brings me joy. Who do I want to work with? And it was a dismantling of what I've done. It was a dismantling of getting out of the hustle. It was a dismantling of my shigo or my ego, right? Of stop. You're not defined by your numbers. And in business, so many times business owner to business owner, we're defined by our numbers. Well, I'm doing 10 million. What are you doing?
yeah,
I'm
right.
doing 4 million, or I'm doing 20 million, I'm doing 100 million. Like we're throwing numbers around like that defines us. And it does to a certain extent, but it wasn't bringing me joy. That it's not about the money. It was about the impact and the transformation. And so I sat back and said, what I love doing is building companies and building legacies. I love working with go-getters. I love working with people that know they're good at something, right? They have a business, they have a proven model, but they've taken it as far as they can. And let me show you what I can do with that. That is the funnest job I've had. Like I'm building $100 million company right now, and I cried when I put this plan together for this man. Cried. And then I sent it to Sam, who's my assistant. You've interacted with her. And I'm like, okay, am I just PMSing or was this really moving? She called me back. She's like, no, dude, this is so awesome. We're creating a legacy. We're gonna change the world. And it's like, okay, good. That's the kind of work I want to do in the world. Where, is it hard? Yes. Do I have shitty days? Yes. Right. Do I love it all the time? No. Do clients get on my nerves sometimes? Yes. Do I want to fire them? Yes. And then I go back to, does this work make a difference in the world? Does this fill my life purpose? And I want them to make a lot of money and I want to make a lot of money. And that's the kind of work. And it took a long time to get 2 years of sitting, waiting for the message. What is the message, God? What is the message? Journaling and going, what is it? What is it? What is it? Because I thought I was done. I thought, okay, I'm complete with this career. Maybe I just stay with my real estate investment and I do more of that. But that's not sexy. That's not fun. That's like, okay, I'm stripping homes, building them, selling them. Okay, but it's not fun like what we do. Like you said, you
Mm.
love doing this. That fills you with a sense of purpose and joy that painting a house can't do. For me, anyway. It could do for other people, but it doesn't do it for me.
Wow. So now you're where are you on that journey? Like in terms of building that $100 million company, creating legacy, creating incredible transformation for people. Like
We're
are
in
you
radical action. We just did a brand
haven't done that?
rehaul, right? Lead rehaul, new lead gens, just kind of looking at the whole piece. Less is more. And I've always said that, right? I want quality of leads, not quantity. I don't want 1,000. I want 100, right? So you give me 50 qualified people, we can close $1 million. You don't need thousands of people and 10,000 people. It's finding the right people who are ready for you. And sometimes as entrepreneurs and business owners, you just keep collecting these customers. Like that means something when they go, I have 250,000 people in my database. Yeah, but nobody's opening their emails. Nobody's engaging. Nobody's reading your emails. Nobody's looking at your stuff. So do you really have that?
Yeah.
To go, what do we need to do to raise the vibration and raise the level of service, right? Come with that service heart. Like, who wrote that book years ago called Do What You Love and the Money Will Come? I think that's always been, I don't remember their name and I apologize. We can look it up later. But when I think about that book, I think about I've always been blessed to do what I love. Even back in the day of being a hairdresser, I was good at it, right? It was fun for me. It never felt like work. This is fun for me. It doesn't feel like work. Building out $100 million plan doesn't feel like work. It's creation and invention. And then to see it come to fruition, right? And to see if I can see something in you, Walt, that you didn't even think of. Like, I didn't even know that I didn't even know that I wanted to do that. Like, how do you monetize that? I, my clients gave me the name the profit coach. I didn't give it to myself because I was, strategic development. And they're like, that's not what you do. Look, they poo-pooed it. That is not what you do. Ew, no. And I'm like, well, what do I do? They're like, you're the money. You're the profit coach. That's what you need to call yourself. And I'm like, okay, I'll be the profit coach.
Fantastic. Nice.
So,
I love it.
sure, that sounds fun.
I was going to ask you, Susie, but you answered already. I was going to ask you, are you having fun? And you're having fun. You're doing the work, but you're having fun as you're doing that. Is that message um is it easier? It's not the right question. I was gonna ask you, is it easier than when you were hustling and the grind and the grit that we talked about before? It just feels like it's a different level of grit. It's just playing that same game, but at the championship level, and it looks like you're having fun.
Oh my God, I have an amazing life. I really do. If it's not fun, why are you doing it? My first book was called Passion, right? And in that book, I talked about it's this, same concept, building a business and building back at that time it was a $250,000 business to $1 million salon, right? And it was the roadmap of everything that I did. And so I had fun even when I was scared to death to speak. Dude, I was in the bathroom throwing up, nauseous. But on the other side, it was euphoria. On the other side, to go through that fear, to go through that self-doubt, to go through that looking good, to go through like, am I good enough? And then on the other side, 4 people came to me. I must have been good enough, right? That was fun. And so my eternal path is curiosity, right? I'm curious. I love to learn. I love to figure out new ways to do it. Like right now in this season, I'm a Gigi. That's, that grandma word, but don't call me grandma because no, that's not good, right? But now I get to learn how to do that. Like how do I serve my children while they're being parents? And how do I have this relationship that I didn't have growing up to go, it's so magical and amazing. And, I have hard days. I cry, right? I'm like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Or if something goes wrong or sales are tight or that still happens. right? It doesn't matter if you're doing a million or 100 million, you're just managing more zeros. If you're managing $100 million, that's a lot more zeros. You might cry a little harder. But if someone's doing 100 grand, you're still managing zeros and it's just hard. So I'm going to choose my hard, right?
Mm.
To go, well, let's go play a bigger game, right? Where are the people? And there are people out there that want you, not me. They don't want Walt. They want you. They want
Hmm.
your message, your uniqueness. But you got to get out there belly to belly. You got to network. You got to put yourself out there. I learned
Good.
early on, you got to show up and show out and be consistent. Show up and show out and be consistent. That's all social media is don't, hit and go. Show up, be consistent, give, serve, and look at your stats, look at your numbers. The numbers tell the story. That's why I always say math is money and money is fun. Nobody likes to do the math, but we always like the benefit of what math gives us or what the money gives us.
Yeah.
And so everything that we do in business boils back down to some kind of mathematical equation. How many qualified leads do I need in my business to hit my revenue goal? Not how many leads, how many qualified leads? And do you suck at sales or are you good at sales? If you suck at sales, then we need more leads. And what are those numbers? So you're just thinking, oh, I need 10 clients, I need 10 leads. No, you don't. You need 100, right? And if you suck at sales, you need 200. And if you're really bad, you need 500. So, and especially looking at price point. So it's important to go find someone that can speak your language, right? I have the entrepreneur language. My book, Power Your Profit, it was published by Simon and Schuster. And it's the journey of building a business from bootstrap to big time, from trying to figure it out. How am I going to buy this? 50 cents went to me, 50 cents went to my business. And sometimes none went to me and it all went to the business, right? Because that's entrepreneurship. But when I was coming up, nobody was telling me that. When I was coming up, there weren't a lot of women trainers. There weren't a lot of women out on the platform. It's much better now, but you still see platforms where we're not putting ourselves out there. I don't think it's men aren't choosing us or it's a sexist thing. We're not putting ourselves out there. I have a responsibility to my children and my grandchildren and other women to put myself out there and tell the truth. This isn't fun all the time. You are gone from your family. I wrote a post about social media today that when my kids were little, I don't remember a lot of things. I have pictures, but I don't remember because I wasn't present. Now I can be present with my grandchildren because I'm in a different season. But when you're in that hustle, you can't beat yourself up because you weren't I was there physically, but not mentally because I was stressed out. I was trying to figure out, first, I didn't know what I was doing. Then I had to try to figure out how I was doing, and then figuring out how to be a mom, and then figuring out how to do a budget, and figuring out, just like in this like swirl of learning. And the tenacity of the accomplishment is what kept me going, even when I had those months that I didn't get paid, right? I mean, one year we lived off our credit card. That's just what you do as a business owner. You go, okay, I guess this is going on the card today.
Yeah. And then you get to living in a mountain home, watching the salmon come up in the stream and, doing a bear cam as we were talking before we hit record. Susie, I just love the message. And, as an entrepreneur, as a father of two girls myself, I genuinely want to say thank you. Thank you for putting that message out there. Thank you for being you. Thank you for using the microphone in a way that challenges people, inspires people, helps them see the better side of themselves. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I believe that we started this in the beginning. It's my assignment.
Yeah.
I didn't always know how to do my assignment, but I was obedient to my assignment. And my assignment is to make the world a better place for other women that come before me and come after me.
Mm.
Like, I want your daughter standing on my shoulders. So they'll go through something else, but they won't go through what I went through. And my daughters, they'll go through something else. They won't have to go through what I went through. And for you as a dad, changing the trajectory of who your father was to who you are, right? That's monumental. Is to go, I'm not the same man, but I'll use those lessons that he taught me to be a better dad. And not that anything was wrong with him, but to go, oh, that's, I believe, our purpose. And then if we can monetize that, that's just fun because
That's
math
just
is money
happiness right
and
there.
money is fun.
That's where it kicks in. That's where it kicks in. So, guys, Susie Carder is one of the world's leading profit coaches. She is the profit coach. And as you can hear, she's taken businesses from nothing to something. And as an influencer, developing a community that's sending back love, I just feel is something that's unique and rare. And I'd love for you guys to show Susie some love, get over there and get involved. So you can follow along susiecarder.com, which is her main website. She talks about, her speaking career and her journey. If you're a business owner or you want to be, or you're looking to grow from where you are, she also has a business health assessment that is free for anybody to go through. So that is, again, susiecarder.com/BHA. That's business health assessment, and all caps. We'll make sure that that link is in the show notes. Not only that, jump across and follow Susie on Instagram. I find your posts there super leading, inspirational, really, really great. And Facebook, of course, being the main platform where you are creating that community. Susie, again, from myself personally, from our listeners, thank you for being you. Thank you for coming and sharing your journey. It's absolutely incredible. It's massive, and I just can't wait to see where we'll find you on the horizon coming up. I love the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ron. I appreciate you.